Hello, and I don't know if I'm welcoming you to a video or I'm adding to one that I'm already working on. And the reason I say that is basically that last Wednesday I went to Kimmeridge Bay on what at the time was something of a, well, I've called it a failed shoot. It wasn't a complete fail. One, I learned a lot again from doing it. Secondly, I did get at least one picture, and it's not half bad, but it was a night shoot, and it was mostly cloudy. It was almost entirely cloudy, in fact, and the weather and the cloud cover just didn't work out as I anticipated. But it is now the following Monday, so it's the very end of July, and that means we are kind of pretty much back into Milky Way core season, and we do have some clear skies predicted for tonight. So I'm going to hop back in the van and make another hour and 3/4 journey to Kimmeridge Bay in the hope that once again I might be able to grab this shot that has been on my little bucket list for a while. So a number of things are coming together. One, I'm available, that's great. Two, the tide again will be about right. Three, although there is something like a 15% moon tonight, it will set at around about 10:30, I think. There you go, it is midnight, and hopefully I have allowed enough time to get myself the 1.2 miles or so to the beach. I am at Kimmeridge Bay, and there are a few kind of iconic coastal landmarks in Dorset at which it's popular to do a bit of Milky Way photography, and well, this is one of them. Normally I would have been down there during the daytime, couldn't do that today for one reason or another, to scope it all out. So I do have some ideas of what I'm looking for. I know the tide is going to be rising. Low tide would have been about about 11:45, something like that. And I'm probably going to be there till about 3, and high tide will be around about 7 in the morning, I believe. So it'll be a rising tide. So I'll keep away from the waterline. To be honest, the rocks here are really slippy, and so I'm not going to be going out on them in the night in any event, I don't think. I'll do some stack shots as well. I will probably set up, as I often do, the Z6 II for a time lapse, and the 7 II I will use for more creative and kind of varied shots. This all depends, of course, on there actually being some visible night sky. And in theory, it should clear between 1 and 2 for a while in the direction that the Milky Way core will be visible. And in theory, at least according to the weather map, should be visible for pretty much all of the way to France. Well, sad to say, after about an hour and a half here, there is no sign that the sky is going to clear in the direction I'm shooting. It has been teasing me. I've seen the occasional star in that direction, but just the odd one or two. But directly above me, relatively clear. Lots of stars to see. I can see Cassiopeia, and so that is particularly frustrating. There is this window of of relatively clear sky. It's just not in the direction that I need to be shooting. So I'm going to call it for now and decide in the morning when I'm going to stick around and try again tomorrow night. So I'm just going to check what's happening tonight on PhotoPills as to what exactly is happening with regard to the setting of the moon and when the Milky Way core is going to become visible. So first of all, let's open up PhotoPills. Here we go. And so Tuesday, the early hours of Tuesday 29th. Now let's go back to Monday the 28th. Yes, the moon will set at 22:27 and it is a 15.1% moon, and it will rise 10:52 a.m. on Tuesday. So that's absolutely great, no problems there. And if I go into the planner and locate myself where I need to be on the south coast, not that the time is particularly significant for this purpose, but let's go to Kimmeridge Bay, why not? Date now, and then scroll forward to the time. Okay, here we go. Thank goodness for that. I thought something terrible had happened to the cosmos for a moment. Right. So galactic core visibility from 23:48 through to 1:43. So from about 11:45, that's earlier than I thought, that's great. That's a much more sociable time, through to about 1:45. So I've got a 2-hour window there of galactic core visibility. So I then need to match that up with my weather data. So back to the weather and radar, and let's see what's happening at about midnight, and that's actually looking pretty clear. Now I'm doing all of this now for two reasons. One, just to double check my advanced planning and that I've got the best possible chance of going down there and getting something. Now there's going to be some thin cloud cover from the looks of it, potentially here and there. It's going to be a little bit of potluck as to just how much detail I see in the Milky Way. I do have my natural night filter with me, or I will have my natural night filter with me, and that will give me best chance of cutting through, if you like, or eliminating the effect of any really, really thin haze in the atmosphere. So from about midnight through to 2 o'clock, yeah, we should have pretty clear skies, and that's great. So I think I've got a decent chance tonight of actually seeing the Milky Way and photographing it. So the other thing I need to check, again back to the planner, is the direction that I need to be planning for, and it's going to be slightly west of a southerly direction. Not as far as southwest, but slightly west of a southerly direction, southwest, south, whatever it is in those terms. So yeah, I think we've got a good opportunity tonight, and that will mean that when I'm looking at Clavel Tower, or Clavel Tower, however you pronounce it, it's got 2 L's at the end, so I would say Clavel. Then I would, from where I'm likely to be standing on the beach, then we're going to be looking at the Milky Way being a little bit to the right of the headland and of the tower, and that's about perfect. Hopefully also from where I will be standing, there's a particularly long stretch of, I'll see if I can show it off here, I think it shows up on the PhotoPills planner. There's a particularly long and more exposed stretch of rock going at a perpendicular direction out from the beach that I included in my composition last time, and I'll want to include that again. And so if I position myself where I was there, the tower and the headland are approximately well, they're not southwest me, they're more sort of toward the east of south, and so there will be some gap developing, an increasing gap developing between the headland and the tower, and the Milky Way will be relatively vertical as well, but it'll be coming back across the image towards the tower, and so yeah, that'll be okay. I think that should be okay. See what happens if I just put the subject of PhotoPills right on the tower. Yeah, and yeah, I think this is going to be all right. We've got a good chance. So the other reason, I mentioned there are two reasons why I'm doing this now. One, to make sure that my planning is as good as it can be in advance. The second is because there is no signal there at all, no mobile phone signal, no internet connection, either where I am going to be parking for the duration of the shoot, or where I'm actually shooting from. So it's in the lee of all the cliff itself, and then a steep or a ridge line behind the cliff, and so that there's just no mobile phone or internet coverage down there, whatever. So what I might do is park up on the ridge itself. There's a car park right up the top. I might park up there initially, and then when I'm ready to actually start my hike, drive down to the quarry where I parked last time, and then from there it's about this 1.2 mile walk down to the beach. And so what I will do is I will leave it there for now. I might do a little piece to camera when I get to the car park on the ridge. Failing that, I'll see you in the dark on the beach. Good evening. I am on the ridge above Kimmeridge, and that part of the south coast, Isle of Purbeck, and it's a really nice evening sky actually. I'm in completely the wrong place for a sunset shoot, so that's not really happening, but what I do notice, and I think I'll turn this around so you can see better. So what I do notice is that on the horizon here there is this line of cloud, look, stretching all the way around. You could call it cloud, call it haze, atmospherics, whatever you like, but I think that that is very likely to stay, and what that will do is really hamper the photographs of the Milky Way core. It shouldn't really interfere with the higher parts of the Milky Way, but that's not really, if I'm honest, what I'm after tonight. So I don't know, I just don't know what's going to happen here. I really don't. But I'm going to come out anyway. I shall leave the van probably about 11 o'clock this evening to be ready to shoot by about 11:45, 12 o'clock. Sunset is about now, which is almost exactly now in fact, just about 9 o'clock. So by 11 it should be properly dark, certainly by 11:45 when the galactic center is due to rise. Then we should, I suppose, be able to, well, we'll know by then, because it'll be fairly obvious fairly quickly whether or not the stars have truly come out to play. Hello again. Right, I'm actually on the way back from the beach, and well, I encountered several other, I think probably 7 other photographers, I think, this evening. 2 ladies who joined me on the beach, and then there were a few, probably about 5 I think actually, a cluster of 5 up on the cliff top, who may well be there, have been there as part of a workshop, I'm not sure. They disappeared quite early, but it did mean that because I was relatively surrounded by other photographers all evening, it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to get this gear out with my lighting and stuff and start recording video, which means I haven't done anything in terms of recording. So what I will do, as I'm now walking back to the van, what I will do instead is I will do a little summary when I get back to my what passes for a studio and give you a summing up there of what it was that I've been doing. But I would like at least to say right now that the skies were just so clear, it was excellent. I needn't have worried too much about what was on the horizon. I think I've got some really, really nice clear Milky Way shots, and I've just got an awful lot of stuff to process now. I think I've got quite a nice time lapse of the tide receding as the Milky Way goes across the sky with Clavel Tower to one side and one of the pavements being exposed by the tide as it recedes, and I think that's going to be really nice. So I think all in all, from what I can tell at this point, really successful night and definitely worth coming back. Just goes to prove you've just got to keep going back and you've just got to keep trying. Okay, so for now, it's good night and I'll see you back in the studio. What a night that was, absolutely wonderful. And so I thought I'd just quickly talk you as quick as I can through the images that I managed to capture on these two nights. The first one here, which is on screen right now, I'll make it full screen for a moment. This one is a 300-second image. In terms of the foreground, it's a composite because I have combined it with a separate image of what was probably the best star of the stars that I saw that night. As you can see, just confined to the very top of the image, and a bit of a struggle there, but I was particularly pleased with the quality of the foreground here. As I say, a 300-second image, which meant I could really take the ISO down and get a really nice clean foreground. It's just such a shame I couldn't do that with the Milky Way showing. But there you go. On that particular night, I was the only person on the beach, and that did mean I could play around a little bit, as you can see in this image, with a bit of light painting. Not very much, but anyway, it was worth a try. And in that one, again, even fewer of the stars were showing in that particular photograph. So moving ahead, I went back, and not to be defeated. And this was the key point from my last video, is the need to keep going back, to go back and to go back and to go back, as you'll have seen earlier in this one. I just put a little clip from that. So I set up the two cameras on the second trip down there. Firstly with the Z7 II, and secondly the Z6 II. On the Z6 II I usually put the 15mm Laowa lens, and if it looks like it's going to be worthwhile, I'll do a time lapse with that one. And that was the real gift on this particular night. I had this idea in my head that because it was going to be a receding tide, that I would set up the Z6 II just with the natural pavement that gets gradually revealed, that have that in the foreground, so that as the tide receded, it reveals this natural pavement as the Milky Way tracks along the sky from east to west. And that just worked beautifully. I use the Z6 for that because I tend to get much better single image results on the Z6 II than I can do on the Z7 II. It wasn't entirely simple. There were a number of frames where we had interference to the image because of people's torchlights or headlights, and I had to edit those out in the movie creation process. But it worked, and the other thing that I had to edit out of the time-lapse was all of the satellite and aeroplane trails. Wow, I think out of the 200 images, conservatively I would estimate that I had to manually remove about 1,000 trails, frame by frame. And if you happen to know a really cost-effective way of being able to remove those trails from a time-lapse, I'd love to know. I really need a free solution. I probably only make half a dozen time-lapses like this a year, and so it's just not worth me investing more money in that. So the other images I took that night, I adopted a number of techniques. Firstly, the single images using the Z6 II, some stacked images using the Z7 II with a 20mm Nikkor lens, like this one. So this is after stacking this particular image, but before I've done anything magic with it in Photoshop just to bring out more detail. I'll show you the outcome from that after it has been fully edited. This one is a single image edited from the Z6 II, 25 seconds, f2.8, ISO 6400. I think it's personally astonishing that we can now get this kind of quality of image from a single shot at an ISO of 6400. That's just extraordinary in my mind. And this was the final composition I took of the night. This one was at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, by which time the Milky Way core had set, or at least had gone behind that distant bank of cloud that I referred to earlier at sunset that I thought might linger, and it did. But by then I think the galactic core would have just dipped below the horizon anyway, but it's not a particularly strong composition. But what I am going to do, I'm just going to leave you now with my favourite shots from the night and the time-lapse that I took there, accompanied by a little bit of music because that's traditional by now. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching.
Just faintest light of stars and stars.